What's going on YouTube? And today we are looking at a new feature in Hiveos that allows you to set a static core clock and ultimately save power. Welcome everyone, Rabid here. So that is our test rig. This is our GPU, 3060 Ti to be exact. So we're going to be using this to get our power consumption test. But before we do get in this video, please hit that subscribe button, like button, all that good stuff, and let's get into it. Okay, so we have our test rig set up here. We got our piece of paper, we got our pencil sitting on our little holder right there. And we're just going to check our power consumption. We are in Hiveos right now with no card or nothing. So we're going to see what our system is actually drawn. And right here it is looking about 20.1. So I guess an even 20. It's bouncing around. So we're going to go with 20 watts just to get a quick estimate so we know what to subtract. So we just put in our card. I fired it up. Hiveos is starting to load. But while that's loading, I just want to go over some stuff I usually always do. And that is when you're putting everything on, like your riser, for example, you want to make sure everything is tight. If this is loose a little bit or starts falling, if you don't have these locks or anything on them, you could burn out your actual PCB here and all the connectors as well as your riser. Again, also down here, if you're loose down here, you could also burn it out at your motherboard as well as putting it in backwards. Yes, you can put them in backwards. Some people have done it. And you have melted your PCI Express slot as well as your adapter ×1 here on your motherboard to your USB. So make sure everything is tight and in the proper way. Just don't fire it on, turn it on. Always double check to be safe. Okay, so we're mining away here. It looks like 60.4 mega hash. It'll bounce from 60 to 61.6 back and forth. But for the most part, we're just going to say 60.4 here. And it says 122 watts. We do have our power limit set at 122 watts. Now let's just look to see exactly what we are pulling. So it is saying 157 to 159. So I did go with 157 for our actual number. So as you know, 157 subtract our 20 watts does work out to be 137 watts, which is not bad. 137 watts is what this card is pulling right now. If you see in previous videos with our very first Zotac card, which is now in our gaming PC right there, that card uses a 119 watt power limit and it pulls about 136 watts, so only 1 watt less. In previous videos, people say some of my power tests aren't accurate because you have to account some other factors. No, you don't. These numbers are actually legit. The reason why I do this, and I do explain it in most of my videos when I do a power consumption test, is everything that comes at the point after our system, like you saw our 20 watts there, everything after that is coming from the card, with maybe 1 or 2 watts actually is coming from your cable. So legitly, and I did do it in previous tests with multiple cards, that now from now on, we'll start with 157 because our 20 is in there. But if I added a whole bunch of the exact same cards and we see it is pulling 137, so if I add 137 each time I add a card and then 1 or 2 watts based on that, our total power draw equals exactly what that number works out. So that is what these cards are drawn. Fans are really inefficient. A lot of people, when they do power tests, they count it when the card is actually idle in the system, which brings your system up to like 70 or 80 watts. So that is not true. And then when you subtract that, it makes your card seem like it is using a lot less power than it actually is. So just want to keep that in mind. I do throw that out there that this is probably the best way to actually do these tests. I just want to go over some settings here. So you can see we are minus 450 on the core, 2400 on the memory clock, 122 for the power limit. Now we do not have that new feature that Hiveos does have implemented now. So we're going to go update Hiveos. We're going to put in a static clock, play around with them and see if we can actually drop the power consumption on this card based on that new setting. So as it is updating right now, we're just going to wait for it. I want to point out a couple other things that I've been reading some forums and whatnot, and supposedly it doesn't really affect 3060 Ti's too much, but it does do a lot more in the 3070s. Now, a lot of people, when they do say it's doing good, doing lots of stuff, they're only basing, I'm not even on the right screen there, but they're only using their software power and it's stating it's lower. Now, if you notice some of my past tests, I'll just have a quick peek here. When we actually looked at some of our AMD cards, we did some BIOS modding and other things for power consumptions. Now it's shot like some of them down like to 64 watts and stuff, but these cards are actually pulling 134 watts at the wall. Or these are 117. So these RX 580s, 570s, 580, 470s, they're only stating 80 to 64 watt software, but they are pulling 117 watts, 118 watts at the wall. We've found that in previous tests. So what's going on is a lot of people are saying they're only using 100 watts in the software. So that's really what I want to find out, is our power consumption actually dropping at the wall, or is it actually just dropping down in the software? So that is the main reason for this video and this test. Okay, so we are updated now. We're looking at our core clock offset. It still says the same, but as you can see, we're just going to show you the first one. So 499, you can see it didn't do anything. So it's anything 500 or over, you'll get your absolute clock setting. So now watch, I'll go to 500 and it'll swap over to absolute core clock. So I'm just going to start off with what I'm actually using in Windows on my other card. We're just starting off here at 1470, and I'm just using what I'm using with my Zotac card. See, 1470 megahertz. So it is stating 1470, so we're just gonna minus this here, close that, and it's still saying we're at the 122 mark. So our core is using more power than what it was, or over than what the limit, and we're still around the 157 range, so we don't have to do any numbers. So I'm going to bring it down and see if we can tweak this. So it does look like it does work here. As you can see, 1150 core now instead of the minus 450, but we have lost mega hash, but our power did go down about 10-11 watts, so not too bad. But again, we lost too much mega hash here, so we're going to try doing some adjustments. Okay, so I pumped it up to 1300. It is saying our power limit's still 122, but we are at 120 watts, so it's down slightly. But we're still 59.18, so we're down like a little over a mega hash and a half. And our power consumption is about the same, maybe a watt less. So ultimately on this 3060 Ti, it's not really helping us out. I went back to our minus 450 on the core, our stock settings here. So we're back up above 60 mega hash. Our power is back to the 157 mark, so 137 watts. We didn't have to do anything here yet. Now there's two things I can do. One, we can try to run it manually through the command line. There is a command for this that might work better. And second, we can update the NVIDIA driver. So the first thing I'm going to do, I am going to update the drivers to the latest and see if that does anything. And if that doesn't work, we will run the command line manually and see if anything happens. I'm going to start with the NVIDIA driver update. If you're unaware how, you can just SSH in or hook up a keyboard and monitor to your thing. Here I SSH'd in, and all you got to do is put in right there. It says NVIDIA driver update, and you just put that there. If you want to put a specific version, then you can see version, you would put space, and then you would have to type in the complete thing here. So here you can see on Hiveos is a complete list of all different driver versions. So there's their newest. I'll scroll down right. So this is their latest one right there, is 465.31.run. That is what you would type in if you want the latest NVIDIA update on Linux. So as you said, I'm just going to the latest. So I just typed in NVIDIA driver update, hit enter, and it's gonna let her go. We're updated to the latest drivers, 465.31. Now I'm using 1410. We're at our 122 watt limit already, and we are down on mega hash. So yeah, we're still using the same amount of power here. The glare, if I can fix that. So see right there, so we're still using a little more power actually, so that's not good. And we're lost on the mega hash. So the driver update did not work. Now on 3070s, people supposedly are running that at 900 core. So quite interesting. It is a more powerful GPU, so less core probably gives you more whatever and give you better efficiency. So a 3070 card could be better than 3060 Ti's now, but I do not have one to test, so I do not know. The only thing left now is to run that in the command line right there and see if we can actually change anything. So we are back over 60 mega hash here. I went back to the minus 450. That way we can go back to a baseline based on these new drivers to see what happens. So back to our very first settings here, over 60 mega hash again, but it is looking it's not much, but this driver is using a little more power. We're back down to 157 there, but we are hitting 158, 160, a lot more than what we were before. So that is one thing that's a little more interesting. Okay, so we're going to try the last attempt here. This is the command. So NVIDIA-SMI space-1 space 0. Now the 0 stands for the GPU. So if you're doing like 3-4 GPUs, you go 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Just, you know, that's for your GPU numbers there. Dash LGC, and then 900 is that core there. So the 900 is the number we're shooting for. This is what we're going to try because a lot of people are getting this again with the 3070s, not the 3060 Ti's, but we're going to try it out and see if it does anything. If not, then yeah, this is debunked. It does not work with 3060 Ti cards, at least mine anyway. Okay, so I ran the command. We are at 60.8 mega hash, which is slightly above what we were, but we are down 1 watt in the software. So instead of running our 122, we did 1 watt. And remember, we just ran that command, so it looks like it did do something. Let's just take a look at our power consumption. Okay, so 157. So we are at pretty much the same power consumption. It's a little more stable now. It's not jumping up to 160 like it was. But there's 162. But ultimately it doesn't, oh, that glare. So yeah, it is still jumping around a bit. So, but it might have done something. Actually, no, maybe it didn't. So it did bring it 1 watt less in the software, but at the wall, it is still the same. But we did gain a little bit of mega hash. So I find that quite interesting. What do you guys know? So there we are. That is our video based on this new feature brought into Hiveos with your static setting your thing. In the end, ultimately, I had to revert back to the minus 450 on the core and run it manually through the command prompt. And I don't really know if it's worth it or not, but might have done something. Ultimately, all my other rigs, they are running better. This card was running, so it might be something with my test rig as well, because these are all doing 61.45, 60.99, and this card usually does exactly the same as these. So there's something with my test rig going on, possibly. But yeah, interesting stuff. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Rabid out. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please consider watching one of these other videos, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button. We do a live stream every Sunday, and Discord link is in the description as well. Thanks everybody again, and Rabid out.